Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Brandon Correia, aka EF Hutton of Entertainment. We are back with another review. It's a TV show review. We got Miss Marvel episode 5. This shouldn't be a long one today, and the reason for that is there isn't much to really break down in this episode. Not saying that this wasn't a good episode. This actually might have been one of my favorites. Maybe like second, but it's up there. I really enjoyed this episode. So as we saw from episode 4, the way it ended was Kamran's mom. I can't remember her name, but Kamran's mom basically like attacked her and hit the bangle, and it basically transported her back in time to the time of the partition where her grandma was, and her grandma was telling that story about how the stars brought her to her dad. And it basically is like a little history lesson of just her family, and it goes back to her great grandmother Aisha and how she was, I guess she ran away from the clandestines, and she ended up in this village and met, I think this would be Kamala's great grandfather, and basically just showing the history of how they met and they came together, they had a baby, and that was basically like the start of their lineage and their family. And then there's a moment where obviously things are going well, things are going a little too well, and we see Kamran's mom, the antagonist of the show up to Aisha's house and basically be like, I can't believe I finally found you. Like, we could go home. Where's the bangle? The bangle is the key to them getting home. And it basically, like, this scene kind of implies that she kind of abandoned them, not abandoned them, but didn't really agree with what they were doing, so kind of dipped. And so when she found her and she was excited and Aisha didn't show the same enthusiasm, she basically kind of turned on her a little bit and was like, you know what I mean, you have till sundown to bring the bangle. Cut to the riot starting, and I guess basically the moment where they have to leave their house and go to the train station to try and leave where they are. And as they're at the train station, we see Kamran's mom. I can't remember her name, like Will Smith in Fresh Prince, for my older people watching. What is her name? I can't remember her name, but Aisha's mom basically shows up at the train station trying to like run up on Aisha, her husband, and the daughter, so Kamala's grandmother, to get the bangle back. And Aisha senses that or sees her and basically tells them to go along so she could slow her down, stop her. And she ends up getting stabbed in the stomach and inevitably passes out or passes away. But before that happens, obviously there's that betrayal moment, but before that happens, it basically cuts back to Kamala finally, because you basically don't see her the entire episode until this point. And you see her approach Aisha, so her great grandmother, and I don't know if it was because she was, and I think it was an accident too, how it kind of drew her to her, because she was about to die from the stab wound. She kind of let out like an enchantment in a sense. And I don't know if something in her kind of activated, like the power within her activated. And that's what kind of brought Kamala there. So there's this moment where she meets her great grandmother. And Kamala, you see Kamala's like sad and worried in a sense, because she was like, no, like this isn't how it's supposed to happen. Like her grandma is supposed to get back on the train through Aisha using the bangles. And then she kind of comes to the conclusion. She comes to the conclusion that, oh wait, there's me. And I don't know if that was the plan, Aisha's plan all along. I don't know if that was Aisha's plan all along. And I don't know if they're basically saying, and I need to maybe rewatch it. Like, I don't know if they're basically saying like that she was the one that say, and I know that is what they're saying, but I don't know if maybe like there was just like an alternate change just because she got the bangle attacked and got brought back, or if going back to Loki, if the sacred timeline per se is the chain of events where Kamala saves her great grandmother, if that makes sense. So like, I want to know if it was just in that moment that because her bangle got attacked, that she got transported back. So something changed, like Aisha got stabbed in the stomach and then that happened, or if the natural sacred timeline is Aisha gets stabbed in the stomach and Kamala gets brought back, and Kamala is technically always the one that saves her great grandmother, which is very interesting to think about. So I'm interested to see if Marvel is going to come out and kind of clear that up. And I'm not going to lie, when that moment kind of happened and she was obviously brought back in time and the great grandmother had the bangle, I thought she was going to somehow pick up the bangle, or somehow she was going to drop it and get the bangle, and then she would have two. But I guess that wouldn't make sense because the grandmother needs to have the one bangle so that she could carry it with her and it get passed on to Kamala's mom and then to Kamala, right? So that's where, like, when I was thinking about it during the show, I was like, that really wouldn't work. But I thought somehow that it would have worked out in some way, that she would have somehow got like a second bangle. But obviously she's still pretty powerful with the one bangle, and maybe there is just one bangle. And then after that, you see Kamala go and save her grandmother and get her grandmother back to her great-grandfather or her grandmother's dad. And they end up getting on the train, and the timeline continues. Like, what the events that are supposed to happen. And then it cuts back to Kamala in real time, falling back with the clandestines. And they basically see like a dimension tear happening, and it's basically showing that like their dimension is kind of like breaking through, and that they're able to go home, stated by one of the clandestines. And she ends up going up to the tear in reality and gets murked, completely vaporized to bone. And Kamran's mom, shocked by this, is like unsure of what's happening, and Kamala obviously tries to talk her down. She's like, it's not gonna work. You can't go home. Like, you're gonna leave Kamran. Like think about him. Just giving her a whole speech just to kind of change her ways. And she's like, there's only one way for me to close it. And she ends up just speaking like Kamran's name and goes into the tear and basically ends herself. She ends up going into dust, bone, and whatever she did ends up closing the tear. But you see like a little bit of like the energy from the tear float off and go into Kamran, and kind of give him Miss Marvel powers in a sense with no bangle. So, and they're not going to pay that off now. We're going to see that more in episode 6 to see how that pans out, and if maybe that's going to make him into an antagonist in a sense. Who knows? I'm interested to see where they take him and what's going to come from him getting those new powers. Basically, after they return back from the past, or Kamala returns from the past, and the tear is closed and people are cleared from the building, somehow her mom and grandmother are there, because we see in a scene that her cousin exposed that you could like find, if you're on a family plan through Apple, you could like find a phone. So she basically like hacked the place, found her daughter, and they ended up finding Kamala at this place. And there was just a nice little moment where Kamala ended up giving her grandmother the photo of her mom and her grandfather from like the past that Kamala got from her great grandmother when she went back to the past as she passed away in front of her, basically telling her all those things that you thought they were 100% real. You know what I mean? You knew what you were talking about. And there was just a nice moment where like even like her mom started to realize like, yeah, like maybe my mom wasn't talking crazy all of these years. So it was just a nice moment just to see the generations. And then even past that, when they went home, there was another nice moment between the three generations where they were going through like a picture book showing that Kamala's mom had a rebellious phase, and that the reason why Kamala's mom was holding on so tight is that she wasn't ready to let her go. And that it was just a really, really good, nice moment. And this is where in my previous Miss Marvel episode reviews, go check those out if you haven't, I stated like, as much as there may not be the most bombastic action-packed scenes in all the Marvel stuff, some of the heart and especially family dynamics in this show are better than a lot of Marvel, which is what's the biggest part of the show and the heart of the show, which it has a whole lot of, and it really is amazing. Like, it's such a good part of the show, and it just brings joy just seeing like the family just interact and just them having their moments and seeing the generations just have their moments. Like it's nice. It's nice to see. And that's where that's not where the episode ends. The episode ends with Kamran pulling up on Bruno's spot and AKA Brian, okay, Brian, and basically just being like, yo, like I need somewhere to stay, like I don't have nowhere to go. And he lets him in. He's like, yo, I know where you come from, like my parents aren't around, like your mom left you, and Kamran still like loves his mom and thinks that his mom's gonna come back, and Bruno's like, your mom left you behind, like I don't think that's happening. And as they're kind of about to get to sleep, they see like a Stark Tech drone like outside the window, and he ends up shooting it with like an energy blast that he just got and ends up destroying it. Bruno's like, you have powers too? And a missile gets let off into the level below them, and then it cuts to the end credits. And that's the end of the episode. So obviously all that's going to be paid off next episode. And also with that, the one last thing I have to say that I've been enjoying about the show is the opening credits with the Marvel screen card has been so good with the remix music themed of the show behind the Marvel card. And I especially like this episode's one where it kind of cut to the olden TV black and white screen because they went back to the partition and because like it was like a history lesson episode in a sense. So they kind of foreshadowed it with having that. So that was a nice little touch. So that's it for this episode review. That's Miss Marvel episode 5. I will be doing the series finale next week. So tune in for that episode. Make sure you like and subscribe if you think you'd like other content like this. Obviously reviews like this, movie reviews. I'm going to see Thor this weekend, so expect a review for that. If you would like trailer reactions, all that kind of good stuff, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.